Let me so that we can start saying these things. I haven't interpreted in days. Definitely, my brain is a spaceship because of COVID. Um,
All right.
I don't want to move so far back.
I can't sit like I normally sit because I usually, literally, I'm like on my toes, and
I'm sitting on my feet right now. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, I don't know how to do it. All right, so
Are
you
we?
haven't thought
Can we
about
just
these?
go for it?
Want to just go for it? Okay. Well, no.
No. Okay.
I mean, yes, but I'm like,
Can you
people
just
are,
play it again?
I don't know if anybody watches our before and after, but I feel obligated to like at least pretend to prep. Okay. Play it again. Hold on. We are listening to number 4, which was released October 20th, 2021. And it says diet talk and boundaries. Diet talk is not, where's my glasses? Hold on, I'm getting really close. Diet talk is not a neutral act, and it can actually stand in the way of our forming deep connections and community. In this episode, Sadie and Naomi chat about why diet talk is harmful, the difference between diet talk and diet culture talk, specific techniques for navigating these conversations on a personal or professional level, and how having good boundaries can actually help us form stronger relationships. And don't miss our whole 30 rant.
I'm here for it. I feel like I'm about to learn something that
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable to learn.
Yes, I'm already like my schema world is like already like going off on a tangent about that guy who wouldn't let me into the VRS company I worked for, Jim, because he thought I needed to use the bathroom and not that I actually wanted to work out. That was rude. And then
That is
when
really
I
rude.
was like, no, did you see me pacing in front of the building today because it was raining and I needed to move my body and I wanted to stay where it was dry? Then proceeded to tell me about his weight loss journey and that I should do what he did. And I was like, I don't need to lose weight, mister. I just sit in a chair when I work in VRS for about 10 hours and I need to move my body every couple hours or so. Thank you, but no thank you.
I don't want your body. I don't want your weight loss. I want to go in the building. Just open the door.
So mad. People are so rude. When I was pregnant, I remember somebody, and I wasn't even like, I didn't gain a lot of weight, you know. I didn't gain any weight pregnant. You saw me as a human in the
Stop.
in the in the flesh. And so I'm already triggered. We haven't even started yet. But I remember I was somewhere with Chris, like we were in the lobby or somewhere, and I was like a miserable mess, and I probably had like urine on me and puke on me, you know, like it was just a mess. And it was the second baby, and so I don't know, but at some point somebody looked at Chris and he's like, "Oh, twins," and Chris was and I were like, "Ha," and we left, and we were like, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore.
That's never funny.
We're not going to pacify that, right? Like, and not only that, like I think it was I was like sick. I think I was like in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like, and
I would have been like, oh, you? Twins? You?
we came up with like 1,000 comebacks, of course, afterwards. You know, like your mom was ugly and dresses are funny. You know, like 100 after, of course. But you know, in those moments,
That would have been so awkward if you were like, oh, you're having twins? Congratulations.
good for you. My kidneys are imploding, but have a nice day. No, like I just this has been like annoying me, and so this is like, and that was one of those moments where you just like pacify the person's comment just to like find the easy way out, you know. And I noticed even now, like when I was getting my foot stitched up, the woman's like, "Oh, your kids must keep you on your toes," ha ha ha. And then it was punny. I love the pun. And then she was like, and I said, "Love the pun." And then she was said something about, "Yeah, but your kids must be a handful." I'm like, "Why? They were just sitting here quietly for the past 3.5 hours. Like, what makes you think that they're not completely pleasant?"
Yeah.
And like, why am I going to agree with you that my kids are something I do not enjoy or like? And like, I find myself doing that. Like before that moment, right? I was always the people are like, "Kids are a handful," and I'd be like, "Right? Oh, keep you up at night." Sure do. No, they don't. Like,
I know, right? Yeah, I love that.
go to bed, and I'm gonna stop pretending that I agree with you that I'm pregnant and I look like I have twins. And I'm going to stop agreeing with people that my kids are bad. I'm going to stop agreeing with people that like marriage sucks. The marriage is great.
Marriage is amazing.
Me and another interpreter from Pennsylvania, we always were like, we are the only ones that love our husbands. Like, what is going on? Like, we'd sit around at that college
right?
and everybody would be complaining and griping, and we'd be like, I love my husband. Like, I like my husband too. And we was like, okay, let's just get out of this conversation. Anyway,
So
all right,
bizarre.
thanks for letting me rant. I had a rant, apparently.
All right.
That was a whole...
Channel that rant into affect.
Okay, so we already know I have some biases and some triggers that are going to come up. What about you? Anything for you?
It's so funny that it said Whole30, because someone who I know is like into Whole30 and continually tries and then falls off and then tries and falls off. If you're listening, I love you. And the reason that happens is because it sucks. And I'm interested to hear what they have to say about that. But because it's like touted as like this super healthy thing to do and like how people should be eating, and it's like, okay, that's not sustainable. So what are the alternatives?
No, and it's so white supremacy. I hope it comes up.
Interesting. Well, that's something that I'll keep here. That's good to know. To add to my little schema. Yeah, I think that I'm excited to hear what they have to say about boundaries, because that is something, as someone who has always been kind of like, haha, yeah, the old ball and chain, or a people pleaser, because I don't do conflict. And I think in my past, I was a doormat, and now I've grown from being a doormat to Switzerland, and I don't want to like rile people up if I disagree with them, but I won't agree with them. And now I would love to move into what you're talking about, where you're like, no, actually, that's not my experience. And having good boundaries about what you say to who, and knowing who, maybe just don't have those kinds of people in your life, and knowing who those people are. I don't know what they're going to talk about, but these are the things that I'm thinking about, because I have problems with boundaries apparently. And I love every time. It seems so counterintuitive that having good boundaries results in good relationships. But then I'm like, what if I try it? And then it's always a positive experience. And I'm like, why do I just not believe this? So I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I'm on board with you on that too. I feel I was just I read the holistic how to do the work, and now I follow her like on all the stuff. And just yesterday they posted something about like people pleasing is like a trauma trait, because you want to make sure everybody is like getting what they need, so that there's no kind of turmoil, and you don't have to deal with like.
I can point to the person in my life that made me this way, It's not my husband. In case anybody's wondering. So
no,
yeah,
for
sure.
Sure. I'm trying, that's been for me too. I feel like I've always like, like I said with Chris, like, I'll just be like, sure, just like me. Like, whatever, bend over backwards.
For me, it's not even like, just like me. For me, it's like, please just don't make my life miserable,
Yeah, I mean, that's the root of it, right? But I didn't even realize these things until we started going to Betty. And I was like, in these weird situations, and thank you for being there for me. And I was like, why am I'm in this weird situation where like, I never realized I wanted approval before, until I was like, I need approval and I don't know how to get approval. And then I realized the way I get approval is by having no boundaries. And like, and they say that like, deaf culture is like oversharing, is like, and so then I feel like, well, that's one of my own boundaries. So it's a whole big thing. So anyway,
interesting.
I'm not going to rant again, but I'm just going to say yes.
It's okay.
I'm very triggered already.
That's a good thing that you recognize it though, because that's going to help you with your filters.
And we've actually did the Gish planning, so that's good too. Some stuff that might come up.
I also want to mention that it's good to pre-conference like this and actually just like out yourself about your triggers, because it's better than interpreting and then blindsided in the moment being like, oh shoot, so you're ready now.
Okay, we'll play it again and then we'll play it for real.
Just the intro. Yeah, I'm gonna listen again.
Welcome to Satisfaction Factor, the podcast where we explore how ditching diet culture makes our whole lives more satisfying. Hey y'all, welcome back to Satisfaction Factor. I'm Naomi Katz, an intuitive eating, body image, and self-trust coach. I provide anti-diet support to free-thinking grown-ups who want to reclaim...
I'm sorry to pause that. Anti-diet. Have we figured that out yet?
I love how you just go like that.
Okay, because that was a rush. Okay, great.
And the little comment at the beginning, welcome to the Satisfaction Factor. That's me, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Satisfaction Factor, the podcast where we explore how ditching diet culture makes our whole lives more satisfying. Hey y'all, welcome back to Satisfaction Factor. I'm Naomi Katz, an intuitive eating, body image, and self-trust coach. I provide anti-diet support to free-thinking grown-ups who want to reclaim their autonomy and consent from diet culture.
I'm Sadie Simpson, an anti-diet fitness instructor and intuitive eating counselor, and I help other fitness professionals disengage from diet culture so they can improve program enrollment, engagement, impact, and retention without shame and manipulation. Hey, Sadie. Hey, Naomi. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about setting boundaries, specifically...
I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm trying to make a decision about body image. And I was thinking like body image or like body, like how I see myself. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? But it could even be like body image, like, because it has to do with like.
By the way, in Canada, this is a sign for CODA, and I'm going to try to spread that with the help from others here.
Can we also do style? Because this is style in
Ooh.
Canada. I love it.
Something in my eyeball. I gotta stop touching my eye.
Okay.
Yes, body image. Is
Just
really
going
like
body image is kind of like in a vacuum is like weird.
think self,
Then it just talks about self-trust
look, self.
too much. It has to be like, because we go
Body
on
image
bias.
expert, yeah. Yeah. Or this. I think this is more. Or this.
I think
This
this
is more
because
like-
it's self-trust.
I love this more. This I think has more impactful meaning.
But then she also was saying the next thing she says is self-trust.
Okay, right. So this and this, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
How about yourself? This came up. We are working on that song challenge right now.
Okay.
And I saw it's like in one of the songs, like a mother figure talking to a child figure, and they were like, "I want yourself happy." And I'm trying to think of all the conversations my mother ever had with me, and I know professional interpreting, blah blah blah, but right. So I even now when like, and I don't think yourself had ever come up. You know what I mean? Like I try to think of like words that I learned in the ITP, and I learned them from hearing people, and like the word bank that I had before I entered, and even though it was smaller, I usually tried to like, and yourself, very rare, like very, very rare. Like I've seen it, of course, I know about it, but it wouldn't come up in those terms. I'm trying to think of like when it would.
I use that daily in my work to say like when I'm working on in VRS and a line disconnects and I didn't do anything to it, I'll say
self. Yeah.
Like it did it on its own. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
Like I did not hang up.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would do that then, but I don't know now. I can see both.
It's just it's a script in my mind. Like I made it up. It's not anything from my employer, but I've just been signing that for a long time. So
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I think I would do that too. But for like self, make sure it's like encourage, and then it's like self trust.
No, I don't. I don't like that because that means me. Like I'm encouraging you to myself. trust? No, because I'm putting it out on the other person. Trust
But
themselves.
you don't.
Like
Do you not?
you trust
So this is like a
yourself.
kill yourself thing.
Yeah, that's what
We're
it
gonna go
is.
down this rabbit
We are,
hole.
we are, but okay, so this is actually a pet peeve of mine when people go, love yourself. You don't say love yourself.
Right.
People, I see that all the time. Interpreters sign that all the time. It's love yourself or yourself. Like it's because when you put it on your own body, that's saying me. It is directional.
But is it not surrogacy at that point?
Only if you shift.
Yeah. Did I not shift? We'll have to roll back the tape.
I don't know. You might have, but I just have like that like trigger. Woo!
No, I
Love-
agree with this trigger. This
Love
is
yourself. Like that's fine. But saying like telling someone to love yourself.
right.
Like it's not love myself. Or people do it with the people do it with the I love you too. They say like
I think
love yourself. I don't know.
I don't think I would see. But how would a deaf person? I'm trying to think of like deaf people, and I'm thinking of like that NJCCD group of people, and
Yeah.
I could see all of them telling me like, you need to have confidence, must love self. I could see all of them doing that. I can't see any of them.
I can too, but I think that, and this is not a dig on anyone, but I think that there's a huge difference between language and action, like applied linguistics, as opposed to language like formally as, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like people say like I ain't got no money, and they mean I don't have any money, but that's not technically what they're saying, right?
For sure.
So I think that it depends.
So no, but this is.
And I don't mean to like put down any particular culture or anyone that might use a phrase like that. I'm just saying like if you go in Webster's dictionary, like a double negative is a positive, but that's not how people use it, and that's not how language and action works. So I recognize it.
So, if we're talking about like a linguistic minority group, do we then not use them? You know what I'm saying? Because if the language and action is removed from the oppressor, which is like the ill-trained, ill-equipped interpreter in your classroom, and if the language and action is the actual linguistical like correctness, do we not follow that?
I think that it depends on who your audience is. If I was an educational interpreter and Naomi and Sadie came to a high school to deliver a talk about intuitive eating, I would make sure that me as a language model is modeling the language in the textbook manner. However, it depends. Somewhere else, if you want to use the language best understood by all people involved. So yeah.
Even in a high school, I think that unless I just saw my team say love yourself, my brain would be like, oh, I forget that word exists. And then it would be my turn, and then I'd be like, right, love yourself. But if I didn't have a team that reminded me of that, which is, I guess, an English intrusion, no? Because that's not already how we are saying that even we use it. Like, oh, the phone, it disconnected all by itself. Right?
Yeah,
it's not
on its
the
own.
same thing, right? As like,
well, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. I would say it disconnected on its own, or I would say it disconnected, implying on its own, and I would use that for on its own.
Yeah, or I mean, by itself, on its own, a gloss. Either way.
Yeah. But I'm saying I would say that in English. I would.
Oh, but I'm not saying. But in ASL, I wouldn't. And
okay.
in ASL, I wouldn't use yourself as in like you yourself, whereas I would use this as itself.
Gotcha. I understand what you're saying.
You and the its is the difference.
I understand now.
If I didn't have that team who might have
would you go like this though?
Totally, 100%. I would.
So interesting.
If I'm looking at a high school kid, I'm like, in my brain, it would have nothing to do with the academics. It would have nothing to do with like, I must be a language role model. For me, in these moments, and I've been in these moments, even like in college when you're talking, like I'll have male students and they're talking about like 19, about like essays and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The 19 Act.
I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry.
It's an act. It's a law where you gotta like mandate report and tell me, and then I get the
Oh,
person.
I understand. What
Take
you're
every
saying.
year we have to do.
Yeah. Sorry, I needed more context. I understand
So
now.
like, you know, I'll look at like my male student who's like 18, and I'm like, do you know that like, you know, 30%, this happens to 30% of men. Like, I
Yeah.
want you here, right? Like, I don't want you to be like, oh, only women. No, like, I
Right.
want you here with me. And so in those moments, I would be like, you must
Right.
love yourself. That's exactly how it would happen.
So interesting to me.
Because I'm
'Cause
like,
that
I
would
want you.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's interesting. I'm curious and interested now because that would never come off my hands.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, but now I'm
Because
gonna
even
be all
like-
caught up,
even
and we
like-
might have to stop it because I'm gonna be like,
It's a friend. We could always edit. Like we did last time, with all the dog barking and all the craziness. But even if you think about where kill self is the best example and something we've always
Yeah.
talked about, you know, growing up or deaf people, it always is like, or, and then
right. But there are those who sign.
right, but you don't a hearing. I've only ever seen that after ITP. Before
That's
ITP,
interesting.
it
See,
was
I have no frame for pre-ITP, so I trust you on that because I don't. I mean, my exposure to the language was through maybe 2 or 3 people
Mhm.
prior to an ITP, so I just had to work with what I was given, you know. So that's interesting to me.
But like you surrogate, you put it on, right? Like I'm doing this, I'm not like doing that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So you're taking it on. So you're gonna love yourself. It's so important. Like love me,
Mhm.
you know. Like
That's so interesting. You've given me so much to ponder. And see, this is where I kind of go down the rabbit hole though, because um I wonder, and this is absolutely not I hope this doesn't come off as oddest, but I'm just saying it because it's fact, because I've witnessed it. I'm wondering how many deaf people would tend to do that because they came through mainstream programs where their educational interpreters did not have a grasp of the language.
right, but that's why I'm saying the NJCCD crew, because they're
Yeah,
not.
that's different.
They're MKSD. They're
Yeah.
they're not. They're not. Oh, fuzzy lip balm. Okay.
This is such a fabulous discussion. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll wrap it up.
And I hope my intentions are clear here, that I'm not attempting to, look down on anyone's language use or anything. I'm just, my mind is like going now because I'm so curious about all this.
I think that's what's so fun about us, is that we have like street knowledge and book knowledge. We have, you know what I mean? Like
You
this-
have to.
This is what works so well. So should I open the window and get more light in here?
No, I think it was better without.
Better with that.
That's good. I
Okay.
feel a little washed out, but this is as dark as I can get without getting any more dark. So sorry.
Maybe that.
Actually, my little clip just broke off of my my headphones. So give me a second to re-clip that.
I'm not in frame. I captured a wasp today the size of a Pringle bottle. By the way.
What was it? A murder hornet?
Oh, is that a thing? Because then that's what it was.
I don't know. It's like from
was-
Asia.
The size of a Pringles container. It was brown. I've never seen it before in my life.
Text it to me.
I didn't take its picture. I put it in the Pringles container. I threw it out the window. I shut the window. I text Chris and I said, "There's a Pringles container outside. You're gonna have to pick up and put it in the garbage."
But the top didn't pop off.
It did. I saw it fly away. It was so big. It could have been a fairy. I mean, it was like one of those.
And then now you've angered the fairies.
Well,
You better get a baby to laugh to make up for your mistakes.
oh, they were laughing.
Okay, then
Hey, baby.
lots of fairies were born. It's fine.
You're gonna have to tell me about that because I don't know about that.
Peter
But
Pan.
Oh,
Every
okay.
time a baby laughs, the fairy's born, I think.
I got a little exit door for like a
I
garden,
love those.
but
And
I
the
put it
baseboard.
to leave. Yeah, so the fairies all have to leave. Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
And then you welcome the elf in the shelf in your house
Right.
willingly.
willingly.
I'd rather have the fairies. Just saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's all gonna be.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, wait. I'm gonna go like this.
My hands feel dirty. I feel like I need to wash my hands. All right, I'll be fine. I just haven't worked in so long. I know. You ready?
Welcome to Satisfaction Factor, the podcast is in
I'm gonna do it again. Ready? How you feeling anyway? We're at the halfway point.
Not my best work. Not gonna lie.
Well, I feel the same way. I feel like I'm like. That's how I feel. I'm making.
I feel
no
that
sense.
way too, and I'm like giving into the pressure to just start before I understand what the heck they're talking about, and I don't know why that is. And I'm also signing myself more times than I've ever signed. Right now, in these 30 minutes, I've
Why?
signed myself more times than I have in my entire life combined.
Why does it keep coming up? All right, let's take like a stretch.
Yeah.
A 9 inning, 11 inning. What do we call it?
Eighth inning. It's eighth inning. Yeah, not my best work. Not gonna lie. Also, it's the seventh inning stretch. I don't know why I said eighth.
7 innings. 11 innings?
There's 9 innings. Why would you wait till the second to last inning?
Or
to
the
have
11th. Or the 11th.
the 11th hour.
Yeah, that's probably what I mixed up. Will give me the benefit of the doubt. Do I like move like this the whole time that I'm interpreting? Are you seeing that?
Not now that you said that, I'll probably notice it, but it hasn't been glaring to me.
You've never noticed that in the past?
No.
I feel like I'm making myself seasick. I'm like,
Well,
here,
stop.
it's my turn. Weeble wobbles. Don't fall down. Yeah. I'm gonna try to stop doing that now.
This is an interesting opportunity we have to stop in the middle of
midway and like reassess.
I think this is like maybe not a good idea, but well, I don't know. Maybe it is. We'll have to see.
No, because I'm gonna readjust. I feel like I'm having issues with like not putting my foot down.
Oh, I don't know what the heck my issue is. Do you ever do that thing where you're interpreting? Are we gonna add this to the Africast? Do you ever do that thing where you're interpreting, where you're like going along, and then you like, I have no idea what I was just gone for 15 seconds.
Absolutely. That's why.
What are we talking about? Yeah, that's been happening to me a lot, like during this, and I don't know why, and I don't want it to be happening. I don't mean for it to be happening, and I'm not consciously thinking. It's not like I have something on my mind, like, oh gosh, I got to pay the mortgage. Like, I paid my mortgage, so I don't know what's going on.
That is why I turned the caption on.
Oh, interesting.
I am recording this on just the cloud, so I mean, I'm just recording this on Zoom, not recording it how I was recording it in the past. So Zoom is going to record the captioning in the final product. But I needed to turn on anyway because I was like, oh, I am like daydreaming.
I'm like, yeah, and I don't know. I'm glad to hear that as well because maybe you weren't paying attention to me too. But I'm sitting here and I was like, I have no clear goal. I don't have it. I'm not even thinking at all about who my audience is. And then I started thinking about, oh, Lori had a clear audience at one point, like in one of the earlier podcasts. Then I was interpreting and I was like, why don't I have an audience right now? Wait, what did they say?
Right.
Maybe if I wait, it'll come to me. And then I was like, nope, waiting too long. Gotta say something. Put my hands up. Nonsense.
Overall, the theme is ditching diet culture. They told us.
I also think that it's actually maybe having a little bit too much of like I'm internalizing a little too much. Like I'm really like, I think the reason I'm dreaming is because they're saying stuff and I'm like, oh gosh, what have I said? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember people talking to me weird after I got pregnant. Yeah, I remember someone asking me when the baby's due and I was like, last month, like, yeah, things like that. And so I'm like thinking myself and then I'm like, oh shoot, I'm interpreting.
For sure. I was like, I'm not gonna take notes, and I've already took down notes because I'm like, oh, my bias there came out with little kids when I went, that was all my bias, that was not her affect, that was my bias.
And that actually got me too because I was like, oh crap, I've been trying to be better about saying things in front of my kids. And I was like, have I not been good about that? Oh shoot. How have I screwed my kids up around? Oh my gosh, my son is 10. What have I said to him in the last 10 years? He's going to need therapy. I'm thinking all of this as I'm interpreting.
No, Theo thinks he's fat. He says it all the time. And now Taylor's starting to copy what Theo is saying. And it's very frustrating. It's very upsetting. And it's like he realizes that he's like one of the biggest kids in his class. He's my no means, I mean, you know, like his body is perfection,
Yeah.
like,
I love it.
and so like,
Other kids just happen to have a smaller bone structure than him.
right, so I feel bad, and it's like, ugh, I just want him to be grateful and appreciative. Anyway, yeah, so that kind of got me on the same wall.
I think
And
my
then,
kid Ewan said something to me. I feel like it was like either this morning or last night, something about his body, like he was wearing a bathing suit or something. I cannot remember what it was, but in that moment, I thought of you and being like, we don't say not positive things about our bodies like that. And I can't remember what it was, but like that was fresh in my mind.
Hmm.
Being
yeah,
a parent is really hard.
so hard. I also, at some point, when they were talking about, like, you don't know what other people are. I've been holding on to this. I'm like, glad we're actually. Maybe we'll always take an 11 innings. It's gonna be 11 inning for us, but that's funny.
Okay, sounds good. We should do it
when
at
they're-
like the last minute, before the last minute.
So at one point, they're talking about you don't know what somebody's going through, and I just keep thinking about, like, when I started going into this intuitive eating realm, and I was reading the book, and then I would Marco Polo you and another friend of ours about it, and you had made some comment, but the other person said they've never looked so good than when they got their cancer diagnosis.
Yep. And they
Okay.
also they said that, and they said the time they loved their body the most was right after they got done having the flu for a week and were just puking up everything that they ate. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, and that's been like in my head now.
Actually, I saw that, not that particular conversation, but when they were talking about that, I was very distracted by that conversation, as not that conversation, by the source text. I was really distracted by it as well, because just started seeing the faces of people that I know that have cancer, and I just started thinking about how their cheekbones became more prominent and things like that. And it's like, that's, people want high cheekbones, right? Everybody wants to look like Johnny Depp, but you know what, like, yeah. Anyway, that was fun. That was a fun detour.
Okay, so maybe we all got that out.
Maybe. Let's see what else comes up.
Am I making sense? Am I signing in sign language? American Sign
You
Language?
are, but I'm also distracted
Yeah, me
by
too.
my own self, and the prospect of my not making sense. So you might not be, and I just might not be noticing.
I'm going to get out of my head, and I'm going to try to look at you. I'm going to try to be
Oh, please don't. Okay,
present.
sounds good.
All right, I'm going to
Maybe
go
you
back.
looking at me. Wait,
45 seconds, you
I
think?
can hear your kids, by the way.
To
Where
hear those
are
types of conversations.
So I feel like this is like Georgia traffic, where it's like something is 5 minutes away and it takes 45 minutes to get there.
Oh my gosh.
How has it been 3 hours? Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's 9 o'clock.
Oh my god. So I just want to say real quick, we have a teacher, and that teacher teaches discourse analysis, and this is the sign that they use, and that's why I was using it for talk. So instead of
And
talk,
I appreciate the feed. It was there and then it wasn't.
also that instructor uses this sign for boundaries, and when they
And
do
I
it, it's
wanted
cool.
to talk to you about that too, because I always use this sign for boundaries.
right.
And I forgot it. It's just not something that comes off my hands naturally. And so I was like, flexible? Am I doing it? Like, I was so fixated on the production that I think that I was like somewhere else. And then I had another moment where I was like, wait, what are they saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you, wait, can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
I see asking for consent. Do you tend to use that sign? Okay. I saw you using it and I was like, shoot, that is not the sign I use.
And that instructor showed me that years ago when I interpreted for them at a conference. And when they did it, it was beautiful. And they like explained it.
I
and
believe it.
because boundaries are flexible and they're always moving and they're fluid. And so like you want but I'm like, this is not working.
This is my, I don't have the mental capacity to be wasting time on production. And I felt bad because I didn't mean for it to come off my hands. It just came off my hands naturally. And then I saw you do it and I was like, oh no, does she feel like she needs to use my sign because I used it?
No, I was glad for it.
Oh, okay.
I never felt right with those boundaries. It just doesn't feel right. So
I just see people sign boundaries. That's what I see people sign. And I'm not saying that instructor, obviously, you know, if that's what they wanted in the moment, that's awesome. And maybe other people want that, but like, it's just not what I tend to sign. So I'm going to use the language I usually use, you know?
Yeah. So I wrote on my desk, look, because I realized I was never ever looking in the camera. And
I started doing that and then I got awkward about, I don't know.
I know that's something weird about vulnerability, right?
I want to look at your eyes though when I'm talking. That's what the thing is. I always look at your eyes.
If you pay attention to our Marco Polos, we are never looking at the camera. Ever.
That's true.
And so I
don't want to stare at a black eyeball of nothingness.
This weird little green dot. It doesn't feel comfortable for me.
When you hold on, look at the camera real quick. That's weird to me. I'm so used to you looking down that you looking at the camera is weird to me.
Well, I just had this whole like 2 weeks where I'm like giving people all this lip service about how they need to look at beyond the camera, and then I never look at the camera.
Well, see, the funny thing is, if I am like performing, or if there's no one on the screen, right? Like I'm just listening and I'm interpreting, I will look at the camera. But because your face is there, my eyes go to your face.
Yeah, maybe. I do feel like one of the midway issues I was having was I was feeling like I was like all over the place.
Oh yeah, how'd that go for you?
Once I like drew an arrow at the camera and was like, look, I feel like it reduced that.
Did it ground you?
I guess it grounded me. I feel like it restricted my space and put an audience somewhere maybe.
That's
I don't know, but I felt like I it was less for me.
Did you feel like you did? I don't want to use evaluative language, but do you feel better about the second half than you did about the first?
No,
I don't either.
I know there was one part where I totally missed the engaged part, and it was like I heard thunder, I heard feet running up the hallway, and so I just stopped and was like,
my husband is like texting me on Messenger over here. I'm thinking about the zoo trip tomorrow that I have to plan with my mother. I can't. I don't know what it was. And I'm not making excuses. I am making excuses, but I'm not validating them. I'm just trying to figure out what the heck it was.
No, and you know what? In all fairness, like I'm gonna give you but myself some grace, because even going into it, I was like, I know that I don't have the capacity to do this. I don't want to do this. I haven't been taking any interpreting work because the COVID house, and I just know that like it's okay. Like I can let my mind focus on like being sick and being in a pandemic. That can occupy all the worry and anxiety and in space in my brain, and I should be forgiving. But then at the same time,
I don't have any of that though, so I have no excuse.
I want to like stay on schedule. I want to produce. It's been, you know what I mean? So there's this like, and then, you know, I don't perform as well as I normally would, and then I feel really bad about it.
I think you can't pour from an empty cup, first of all, and I think your cup has been a little drained this week. I don't know my excuses. I don't even know. I worked 3 hours this morning. I didn't feel like it was a particularly lousy day, you know?
At some point I got anxiety because I did accept an assignment a while ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, is it tomorrow? Because I don't think I can interpret. And it's like this big assignment with all these CDIs, and that's why I took it. And I'm like, I really hope it's not tomorrow, because this is not how I want to meet people in Georgia, you know?
Is it tomorrow?
I don't know. I have a little bit of anxiety that I have to figure out.
I'm sorry.
I hope it's not.
If it is, you'll still be a champ tomorrow. Just sleep tonight.
I'm wondering at some point I took notes. I know I said I was going to take notes, but that's just my brain can't retain things.
I wish I could take notes. I just physically can't.
I wrote at that one point when Sadie was like, oh, I don't know if it's a range or if it's this. And then you fed me, and I was like,
Was that okay? I don't know. Your face did a thing, and I was like, you did the right thing. Why are you looking like you're questioning yourself?
So maybe you weren't listening to the context then, because I was like, why are you feeding me? Because
Okay.
the speaker was like, I don't know. Is it like
Oh.
a fake or a ring?
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I was
Your
like,
affect was too good.
that's great. That's good. That's great.
Yeah. No, I guess I was I was probably not. I was not listening to the speaker. I was
I
like,
know, but I was like, what did I do?
No, it
Okay.
wasn't. Okay, so it wasn't you. It was me. Because I was like, pendulum, Lori, pendulum. Like, what is happening? No, your
No, that means
affect.
I
You
was
tricked
like,
me. Your affect was too good, and I wasn't paying
so
attention.
maybe I wasn't as much of a dumpster fire as I feel
No,
like.
I don't think you were a dumpster fire. Well, okay. Can I ask a question with no intended offense to the source text?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean,
actually, I don't know if maybe it was just my person Naomi that was like this, or if you noticed it in Naomi, or if you noticed it in Sadie as well. Tonight, I felt like there were a lot of, I don't want to use the word false starts, but I felt like the point was here and we started here. And I felt I needed to wait so long before I understood what the sentence was about many times.
I don't know. Ask Daddy. I hear him inside. But don't draw on your face. Okay, then Daddy said no. No, don't draw on your face right now. No, you can't have that marker. You can't draw on your face right now. Go inside. Daddy said no, you can't draw on yourself. Go inside right now. You're covered in stuff right now. Go inside. Okay, go inside. I love you. Make an Iron Man suit with clothes, not with markers, okay? You don't need a mask. You need to get ready for bed. It's bedtime now. Yeah, why do your eyes look puffy? Go show
My
Daddy.
bedtime too.
Bedtime. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Repeat that part.
That's totally fine. So, I was wondering if you noticed, if you can validate my feeling, that I feel like tonight it took some of them, the speakers, a long time to get to the point in their sentences. And I was like waiting and like I felt myself, I was proud. I put my hands down. And then I was like, where's the sentence going? Where's the sentence going? Or maybe not even, like, just the way the English syntax worked out was that, like, the topic didn't come till the end of the sentence. And then I was like, I can't start signing yet because I don't know who the main point, who the subject of this sentence is yet. And I felt that happening a lot more tonight. And maybe that was just my processing tonight. Maybe it was me. I don't know.
I'm not sure because I don't feel like my processing was in tune enough to even know. I feel like I false started often. And like I'd be like, wait, why aren't you waiting?
Yeah, that happened to me too. But I felt like I false started because, well, maybe my brain is like on a delay and maybe like the point was just not coming to me as fast. But I would start and then be like, girl, what the heck are you doing? You don't know what they're talking about. Like many times. And I don't know why that happened to me today. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
I feel the conversation was a little bit more even this time between the two podcasters. But you're right. I feel like in my brain, it was like in themes of like, it was in chunks. And so like, while there might not have been like an overt, like it was in the overall, I just think I was having issues myself, like hanging on to it or like maintaining it through the back and forth. And then there was a time where I was very aware that it was more of a back and forth than it had been in the past. And so I was getting preoccupied and like regulated by the end times. Even though we both know it's fine. And it's better.
Loved all the times you bled into me so hard because I was like, oh, thank God, a breather.
Right. I agree. You know what it is? I think it's in the intro because I still haven't memorized the intro. I still haven't memorized Sadie's last name.
What if we just don't do the intro from now on? We're going to be champ interpreters.
Yeah. Why don't we just
record the intro?
Yeah. Okay.
Gloss it out.
Okay.
Decide what we're gonna say. Yeah, we're
And then
brilliant.
go from there. Yeah, I agree. Because I think that sets the tone now. Because I'm like,
Yes, because
oh
you're
my
like,
god, it's so fast, and I've already missed like 3 sentences of what Sadie's saying, and I'm not even listening because I'm trying to figure out what the heck you're saying.
that was literally my entire problem.
So I think it set me in that pace. Yeah.
My problem tonight, in the times that I wasn't actually, I don't even know, I guess it must be P, because of thinking about actual production,
Mm. Oh, I never
which
peed tonight. Never, not once.
the only times I did was when I was thinking about, but my problem 1000% was C, my comprehension. And it's not even like they were talking about anything like, I mean, like, I interpret like crazy technical jargon laden meetings that I have no idea what they're talking about every day, and I make it through. And tonight we're talking about like people telling stories about being pregnant, which has happened to me 3 times, thank you very much, and I can't get a freaking sentence out.
And even before this, one of our was talking about unsolicited comments while being pregnant, and it was coming up. We had planned appropriately, and yet for some reason, I don't know. Maybe this one just.
I was a little triggered too. I was a little angry.
I was just gonna say maybe we were getting a little
Kind
too.
of clouding me.
What was triggering you so much?
I'm just getting like, well, I can't remember. There was a specific story. Was it when she was talking about how she was pregnant? I feel like something she said about like when she was pregnant. And I was just like, girl, I am so angry for you right now. Like, I was so pissed. And then when she added anger,
Mm.
I got angry at myself. I had like this whole internal thing. I got angry at myself that I have been a doormat my whole life, and that I've never allowed myself to be angry for myself because it's not polite.
Hmm.
And I was like, that is valid. Like, that anger's valid. Like, why didn't I just tell that jerk off? And I like spiraled.
Mm.
It was fun.
I kind of had a spiral when she was talking about being sarcastic, and then like Sadie snapped me out of it, and she was like, "See, this is amendable for your personality." I'm like very anti-sarcasm right now. I think it's very Northeast to do that, but I see how it's like, because the comment was like, "Oh, I can give you a sarcastic comment, like, how about we don't do this?"
How about we don't talk about people's bodies?
And then that could elicit more or not. And generally, it doesn't elicit more conversations. Like, you've shut that person down, you've devalued them, you've them.
Right now, it's like, and now they're never gonna want to talk to you again.
And now you're never gonna have it right, which is why I like forbid sarcasm now. So when, except for each other, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So I was feeling a little kind of like, well, and then, right, it matches your personality. It doesn't have to be like, I don't need to be like all in 100%. I'm just interpreting this right now. Yeah, I don't have to have like, right.
That, it's so interesting that you bring up that comment. Gonna get like super personal, and apologies to my family here, but like, don't worry, I have 7 siblings, so no one's ever gonna figure out which one I'm talking about. But it's a 1 out of 7 chance. Recently, one of my siblings was angry with one of my parents and said something like pretty mean to them, that I was like, ooh. And my gut response was sarcasm, and I was like, wow, could you have been any crueler? And I said that, and I was like proud of myself for saying that in the moment. But then when they were talking about this, I was like spiraling, thinking, oh, great. Now that sibling is like never actually going to come to me with any, like, hey, how should I talk to mom or dad about this? Because I just like them. And I was like, ah, crap. Like,
Yeah.
this is a touchy podcast tonight.
It was. And there was like, also, I was having issues when they were, not issues, but like, thinking about the beginning of what we were planning for in our own conversations with boundaries, and then as it was moving on, it was like, you know what? And like being here with you, like we've had such an educational journey together, both professionally and personally. And I couldn't help but to think about like how to talk to yourself. Right. And I was like, exactly. Like if I'm going to talk to myself in
What
certain
to say when
ways,
you talk to yourself. Yeah.
right, I'm permitting other people to do so. And so, and vice versa, when I'm letting people make these comments about me unsolicited, unwanted, on whatever, and I'm permitting it to happen, then that's also like why or could be why I perpetuate such negative self-talk. It's like I just let it happen.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so I have been noticing that. Okay, you just jarred my memory. Um, Recently I heard my son, my 10-year-old, say something, and I was like, "Oh, why did you do that?" And he went, "Oh, I was so stupid. And I was like, "Whoa. We do not call ourselves stupid. You are not stupid. You just didn't know what to do in the moment," and things like that. And then I was like, all the time, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot." Like all the time. I'll say to Sean, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I did this stupid thing today." All the time. And I was like, where did he get it from?
I will make my son rephrase a statement with, I'm bad at blah, 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 with I'm new at this, or
I love that. And
I,
I've tried to copy that from you.
I make him restate it, but now he will call me out and be like, why'd you just call yourself stupid? I'm like, right, I'm not.
They're
Yeah,
listening.
I'm
They're
not.
always listening.
It's true. Another thing that I thought was really important, not that if you're not done with that, we can.
No, I'm done.
And for sake of your siblings, I don't think anybody's going to watch 4 hours of this, so we're good.
Good.
I usually try to cut it down to 15 minutes. Not going to happen this time.
Good.
Anyway, I was really like, I have been hurt, and I've learned so much from Claudia Gordon, who is a
Okay.
deaf blind lawyer. I think she graduated from Harvard.
I know her. Yes.
Mm-hmm. She came as our guest, our students invited her to our college to talk. So this is like 12, 15 years ago then, right? And she came and she talks about her life, which was like, she grew up in a different country as a deaf-blind woman, and it's filled with turmoil. She has a book. Yep. It's amazing.
Yes.
I've never read it, but I've heard about her life.
I haven't either. Maybe that's our next book club. That's on the list.
So she's sharing her life and her experience, which is nothing more than marvelous. And she's done all these things. She's working for President Barack Obama. And after she's done with this 2-hour presentation about her trials and tribulations and her amazing successes, myself and a few other female students approach her and just talk about how pretty she is. And I walked away from there feeling gross, and I've held on to that ever since. And I've tried to make it a conscious effort since that moment to never compliment a female on how they look. And also when people post on social media or they tell you like, oh, this diet, I've lost all this weight, I will always make an effort to be like, you must be so proud that your commitment, like
the quality, not the
right. And so I felt like I still have a lot of hurt from that. I mean, I learned so much, and it's truly impacted and changed my life in the most natural and healthy and positive way. But I still harbor so much hurt from that learning moment. I wish I didn't have to learn it in that way.
Yeah.
There's just something in her face where I realized, like, her face showed this, like, and I realized what was happening in the room, and I was like, interesting. And it was so impactful. And I don't know. And then when they were talking about it tonight, like, of course I should be like, go you, but I just feel that like shame of like, why do we do this? And like, why do we put so much emphasis on how we look? I mean, it's frustrating, and it's anchoring.
We place so much value on that. It's so interesting that you say that. You bring me back to an intern job that I have. I am so thankful that I cannot even remember the name or the face of the working the professional interpreter that I was like placed with as an intern. But it was a situation where there was a team and there was a male and a female interpreter, and I was allowed to come along on an assignment they did. And I don't know why, but the female interpreter was like kind of ignoring me the whole time. I felt ignored. And they were just working with the male interpreter and talking with them, talking shop. Okay, we're going to use this sign for this. Okay, what's this vocabulary? All this stuff, pre-conferencing, all this stuff. And it was like the male interpreter, the female interpreter, and me in turn. And she was talking to him all about the technical stuff, and I was there like taking notes, like I wanted to learn, I was ready to listen. And then I was like, I didn't want to be disrespectful and interrupt their process, but afterwards she turned to me and I got really excited. I was like, oh, I'm about to be included in the conversation. And she pointed to the speaker on stage and she's like, wow, her blouse is really pretty, don't you think it's pretty? I wonder where do you think she got it? And I was like, you don't think I'm important enough to talk about the work. You're going to talk to me about how the speaker looks, and that's all you think I'm worth. And I remember that. Like, I'm so thankful. I don't even know who that was. I cannot remember. I don't want to remember. But like, that was impactful to me. And I was like, wow, when we want to talk about nothing, like, that's our go-to, is like how people look,
Wow. How hurtful and how impactful, for sure. I'm sure I've done that stuff.
I am too. Guilty.
Yeah. And I can't help but to also think like I've had interpreters who attributed my sloppy signing style to my fat, pudgy fingers, right? And it's in the deaf community too. Like recently on social media, there was that woman talking about
I know who you're talking about.
The video relay interpreter said they couldn't understand her because their fingers were too fat, and like how gross.
They're my fingers.
They're my fingers. I've always had, and I was like, oh, I thought that was like, everybody always looked at my pudgy fingers and they said there was a sign that I was going to be wealthy when I grew up. How many people in my life have told me
what
that?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think it was like
I'm gonna be rich.
in my early 20s. It was like I literally was like gonna research like lipoing your fingers, because so many people had comment, and deaf people had comment on how, and I was like 98 pounds, I wasn't, but I just always had pudgy fingers, and
So
deaf people would point out my pudgy fingers, and hearing people would point out my pudgy fingers and talk about it like, oh, it's a sign of like prosperity or something like that.
Apparently,
like,
this is some branch of something I don't understand. Also, for the record, your fingers have never struck me as pudgy. I never thought about it.
Thanks.
I mean,
now, all you're gonna see are my pudgy fingers.
There are people that I know who are interpreters, and their fingers are like this long, and I definitely noticed that because all their finger spelling looks like this to me because their fingers are this long. But you know what? That's their fingers. Would you go to like a deaf person who's missing a finger? Maybe personal experience, and would you be like, oh wow, how's life without a pointer finger? Geez, that must be challenging. Like, no, that's not appropriate.
No, absolutely not. No. And I like remember this conversation at this college because I really respected this interpreter and wanted them to bring me on other things that they did, and I was like, oh, you will never think I signed sharp enough because of like the anatomy of my hand. That is bizarre. And
that's that power dynamic they were talking about tonight. Sometimes when someone makes a comment about your body and that person is your supervisor, you kind of just feel like,
that's interesting, because that's also a person who tried to convince me that they were a coda because their parents were alcoholics, and so they understand what it's like. And so I wonder if there was like a whole
that's a little oppressive and honest.
And I can say that's not the first time somebody said that, right? Same exact example. Whether that story went out and somebody borrowed that story or whatever, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. So I'm wondering if it's all about like power, but it still is it's like
you can put someone in their place with a comment about their body for sure. Even like, I mean, I'm not that short. I'm 5 feet tall, but like, people don't take me seriously because of my height. It's a thing. Like, I just have accepted it in my life. They're always like, I mean, you're not that much taller than me, but have you ever had someone like come up and pat you on the head?
No, I'm kind of tall.
And you're like,
I forget how tall I am.
okay, I don't know. I haven't seen you in real life in a while.
I'm not a rocket, but
You're not a rocket. But I've literally had people come up to me and pat me on the head and be like, wow, you're short. It's like, wow, that's super demeaning. You can stop now.
No, but we have had conversations about being mistaken for students because of how young we look.
Absolutely.
But there's one of our favorite interpreters who often would not do platform work because they were so short they felt like they got lost on a stage or in the front of a room, and so would inhibit themselves from taking on work. I don't know if because they felt like they were too short or somebody told them that they were too short or whatever, but I always
These are the conversations we need to be having as interpreters.
And this is like my opinion of like the great, I love this interpreter. If there's anybody I want on a stage interpreting, it's you. I will get out an egg box, like,
Right.
not an egg box, whatever.
I know what you're saying, a phone book.
Right, a crate.
And I totally understand, a milk crate. And then I actually know of there are other interpreters who feel that they're too tall and they won't take a job because they're like, I take up too much space in a hospital room. I feel bad. You know?
I've had that at 5'6" in a theater. I've said in the last 5 theater jobs that I've taken, you might not want to see people here because I am tall and round. Those are my words.
Well, stop it.
I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm like, people have to look up and around me, and I'm kind of tall and kind of round. And I mean, it's effective. They're like, oh, right. But at the same time, I'm like, permitting these kind of
but like what other, so start having a new script in your head. What's something you can say instead of that? I don't want to block the view of the performers. That's all you have to say. You don't have to comment on your own body.
Right. And I know that
I'm talking to myself too.
Yeah, I was just saying I'm not the only one, so this is why we are gonna have this conversation soon.
We are. Is it at a workshop we're hosting by any chance?
Yes. You've made it this far, then you should join that workshop because clearly you've
made it this far, the secret word, if you've made it this far, the secret word is peanut butter. And if you put that into the discount box, you'll get it for free because it means you watched this whole thing. Hey, you have anything else?
There's so much, but I feel like I'm exhausted. As an interpreter and as a female and as a human, I need a snack. And
I feel guilty for not, I don't know. Maybe this is part of like, you know, like there's the stages of grief, like denial and then depression. I wonder if there's like stages of like body acceptance or body, not positivity, but you know what I'm saying? And I think I'm in the feeling guilty for not liking my body stage right now. You know?
Yeah. I love that we're doing these for so many reasons, but also like for myself, like outside of interpreting, you know, we have interpreting goals with this, but I really am appreciating how this folds into how I present myself, you know, as a person in the world and how I'm feeling about myself. And I really, really appreciate the opportunities to have conversation with you because when I was reading the book and we were talking about it, right? Like we were saying before, like, you know, in our group, that third member would, you know, like that conversation about being sick. And it was like, please get on board because I want to be able to have a deeper conversation. And I want, you know what I mean? Like, so the fact that we're here together, I'm really excited because I think that we can have these like vulnerable and open conversations.
For sure. Have shared language.
Shared language and an application as interpreters, as women, as mothers, as this, as teachers, as, you know, all these other things. It's
absolutely
it's great. So love you. Thank you.
Same.
Yeah. Usually Chris is like, when you don't want to do it and you do it, that's when you usually have a breakthrough. That didn't happen.
Chris. Chris, you can go tell Chris.
Did not happen tonight. Did not happen.
You can tell Chris to pound rocks.
Well, we did it. We did
it.
Number 4 is done. I appreciate your time.
Same.
And if you really did make it this far, we have code early and code student, and you'll get some discounts. So
Peanut butter was not a thing. I made that up.
no, but student and early are discount codes. So use them, and we'll see you on the 15th. And when we do number 5.
That's right.
I've been here so long, I forgot how things work. Okay.